Time for science today. All right, our learning target today is I can recognize patterns of relationships between organisms. Doesn't seem like a lot of words, but you can clearly see I messed up a few times trying to write this all down perfectly for you. We're going to look at patterns, okay? And so we're going to look at how patterns of actual living things interact with each other. And then we're going to look at the relationships they have with each other and how they survive in different ecosystems. So our first key term today is niche. Now, when you watch a video, you might hear scientists say niche or niche. It's actually a French word, but we're going to use the word niche. So say it with me, niche. Niche is the function or position of a species within an ecological community. So every tiny little organism has an impact of the whole community because of the way it has a relationship or interacts with other organisms in the community. But a niche is really the tiny little place where it actually lives and survives, okay? So for example, a squirrel has a niche and it's usually in a tree where its nest is, right? In a tree that has like acorns or fruit or nuts or pine cones, okay? But it also helps the community in that it takes those seeds that it buries and it plants new trees, right? That's not a niche, just some way that it has a relationship with trees. Squirrels actually plant a lot of trees because they bury a lot of seeds and nuts that they can't find and of course grow up in the spring. All right, but the niche of a squirrel is actually in a tree, okay? Our next important term here is limiting factor. Limiting factor, say it with me, limiting factor. A limiting factor is an environmental condition that limits the growth, distribution, or population in an ecosystem. So temperature is a limiting factor. Whether it's hot or cold determines what can live there. Space is a big deal. You can't have a million wolves living in one area. Because if they're in one area, then they won't have enough to eat, okay? Or if you take into consideration maybe space, like if plants are growing in a certain place, and they run out of space, or in a pond. You can only have so many fish in a pond until the pond can't support any more fish because it only has so much food in it, right? So space is a big deal. Predation is one that we're going to actually focus on with this lesson. It means that something eats something else, like a lion eats a zebra. Now, a lion and a zebra have a relationship. See this term here? A lion and a zebra actually have a relationship. No, they're not friends. The zebra is actually food for the lion. Well, if the lion can't find any zebras, then it starves, right? So the lion is the predator. It preys on the zebra. Well, if the lion gets hunted or it gets a disease and it disappears from that ecosystem, then lots of zebras get produced, okay? Because they are allowed to survive long enough to reproduce. So we're going to talk about that relationship. The third important term today, or for this lesson, is interdependence. Say it with me. Interdependence. It means dependence on each other. When you're done today with the lesson, I want you to complete your notebook here. You have two options. You're going to explain how a limiting factor might cause competition between a population or individuals of a species, or you could describe the relationship of the lynx and the hare. Now, today, you're going to have an amazing introduction, to the lynx and the hare and populations and how they interact. Your lesson is really long. This is not going to just take today. This is going to take today and tomorrow and maybe the next day to complete. And you might have to do some of it for homework. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to watch a video about predator-prey relationships. And then you're going to watch a little bit more boring video, but it has a lot of interesting and informative information about how to look at graphs that show how predators and prey interact, okay? Then you're going to do a predator-prey lab. This is super fun. You're going to take a lynx and you're going to take a bunch of hairs and see how many hairs the lynx will actually eat. And you're going to try it again and again with certain instructions to find out how the lynx, which is like a bobcat, and a hare, which is like a rabbit, interact. This is a super, super famous study, super famous in the science community about how the lynx and the hare interact and how their populations have been affected. And Canadians have been studying this for over 200 years, which is amazing. So really get into it and try and interact with your lab. In the lab form, you will find a video of directions about how to do it because it's a little bit complicated. You'll find directions of someone actually doing it, which will actually help you collect some data. There's a huge data table. Don't be overwhelmed. You can just write your data down on a separate piece of paper, or you can print out the data table. Completely up to you. But I will not ask you to turn in your data table. I will not ask you to turn in your data table. I will ask you to look at your data and see if you can make any kind of mental picture with it. And if you can't, I will provide you with the lynx and the hare graph so that you can see the relationship between the lynx and the hare. And then I will ask you to submit a form, a Google form, and respond to some questions about the lab activity that you did. So you'll need to submit the Google form, and it's embedded in the lab paper. Then you'll need to complete lab page 23, okay? If you're struggling with this, please remember that we have a resource packet available on Schoology for you, and Learning Target 23 matches with page number 23 in our notebook, and it literally has the answers to right here if you are really struggling, okay? And go ahead and copy it directly. It's fine. Read the directions, copy it directly. So you're going to complete an assignment called Patterns of Relationships Between Organisms today and tomorrow and maybe the next day, all right? So you're going to watch a couple of videos, you're going to do a lab, you're going to submit some questions about a lab, and you're going to complete notebook page 23, but you're only going to submit one document, and it's the patterns of relationships between organisms. All right, I think you're totally gonna love the predator-prey relationship lab, and I want you to have fun with it. Just try and do it right. All right, have a great day, or at least a better day than yesterday. All right, take care.